Turning now to exclusive news, CNN reporting about highly classified intelligence that went missing at the end of the Trump administration. CNN has learned that the intelligence relates to Russian election interference, information that was deemed so sensitive it could only be accessed at the CIA, and the people working with the intel had to keep their notes locked in a safe at CIA headquarters.
Have no fear, the year is not 2016, but this is Progressive Matters. This week, CNN reported that Donald Trump may have misplaced some classified documents in total Donald Trump fashion, reporting that the former president, in the last minutes of his eviction from the White House, made a last-gasp attempt to declassify documents pertaining to the investigation surrounding Russian interference in the 2016 election. Though all of this may sound familiar, I assure you this is not just a really shitty sequel to Groundhog Day. No, once again it seems as though Trump and his hapless band have struck again, misplacing the binder. I, for one, bet I know where it may be. Now, though Trump has been known for being creative in his attempts to store things like the country's top secret information, and has at times expressed a willingness to share it with anyone willing to sit down next to him poolside, this time may be different. A 10-inch thick binder filled with raw intelligence containing the U.S. intelligence agency sources and methods seems to have disappeared into the night, never to be seen again. Hopefully one day we can say the same about Trump and everyone that ever worked for him. Unfortunately, this binder could potentially disclose many secrets pertaining to intelligence operatives and their methods to unsavory characters that could use them to continue foreign interference in future American elections. The security efforts for the binder were so intense that some described it as being kept in a safe within a safe like a turducken, or more appropriately, in my opinion, a Russian nesting doll. However, once in the hands of Mark Meadows, these security procedures seem to have been overlooked. Former Meadows aide Cassidy Hutchinson in her book wrote that Meadows asked her to retrieve the binder and complained when she told him it was in the safe, saying, "I told you not to let it out of your sight. It should have been in your desk drawer." To which Hutchinson replied, "My desk drawer, Mark, is not where classified documents belong. It was in a safe. You have nothing to worry about." Well, thanks 6-pound, 4-ounce sweet baby Jesus that at least the aide understood the importance of the documents. But what can you really expect from an administration that had late-night clandestine meetings with the likes of Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, the MyPillow guy, and the Overstock.com CEO? After multiple attempts that led to many different versions of documents that had varying different levels of redaction, Meadows, Trump, and probably a couple of dudes they picked up down at the Home Depot completed their proposed redactions, and additional copies were made at the White House so the binder could be declassified and released. The FBI, going into full panic mode, as I'm sure happened rather consistently under Trump's administration, did their best to protect the most sensitive details and limit the damage of what they felt were insufficient redactions. In fact, a top FBI official wrote to White House officials saying, "Any further declassification would reveal sensitive intelligence collection techniques, damage foreign partner relationships, jeopardize United States intelligence community equities, potentially violate court orders limiting the dissemination of FISA information, and endanger confidential human sources." Journalist John Solomon, who Trump had chosen as his mouthpiece and co-conspirator in his mad dash attempt at rewriting history, filed suit earlier this year for access to these documents. Solomon claimed that on January 19, 2021, 48 hours before Trump was to leave office, he was summoned to the White House where he quickly thumbed through a 10-inch thick binder filled with lightly redacted documents that had classified markings that Meadows had claimed the White House had declassified. These documents were then stuffed in paper bags, which should surprise no one since later we would find out that Trump allegedly considers it okay to allow personal servants like Walter Nada to drive them around the back of his car, or for Mar-a-Lago staff members to transport them with flimsy cardboard covers as the only thing standing between them and the country's most classified secrets. Solomon attempted to start the scan and make copies of the documents, but the White House contacted him letting him know that the documents would need to be brought back for more redactions that may have been necessary due to the Privacy Act. Cassidy Hutchinson wrote in her book that then White House counsel for Trump, Pat Cipollone, ordered her to retrieve the binders from Solomon, saying, "The Crossfire Hurricane binders are a complete disaster. They're still full of classified information. Those binders need to come back to the White House like now." And of course, they were returned by the Secret Service in the approved Whole Foods grocery bags. On Trump's final day, which we all remember as looking a lot like an evicted tenant that was having his belongings removed by the sheriff after multiple notices to vacate, Meadows made a mad dash to deliver a copy of the binder for a final review, asking that the Justice Department conduct its own privacy review of the bulk of the documents Trump had declassified before they were released. As for the unredacted version of the binder, Hutchinson wrote in her book that she saw Meadows get into his limo the night of January 19th with the original Crossfire Hurricane binder tucked under his arm. She said at that time she asked herself, what the hell is Mark doing with the unredacted Crossfire Hurricane binder? In February and March, the FBI released under the Freedom of Information Act several hundred pages of heavily redacted internal records from its Russia investigation, following lawsuits from conservative groups seeking documents from the probe. The Justice Department said in a June filing seeking to dismiss Solomon's lawsuit that the FBI's document release had fulfilled Meadows' request for a Privacy Act review, noting that it resulted in the posting of most of the binder on the FBI's FOIA website. As far as the original binder with the raw information, it has not been found. My guess is it's sitting on the back of a toilet somewhere in Mar-a-Lago or under the passenger seat of a mid-2000s Honda Civic somewhere in Florida.
Did you find the files?
I don't even know what they look. What do they look like?
They're in the computer.
They're in the computer?
Yeah, they're definitely in there. I just don't know how he labeled them.
I got it.
You gotta figure it out.
Roger. In the computer. It's so simple.
Thanks for watching this episode of Progressive Matters. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And remember, get educated and get out and vote.